Let's call the meeting to order. We're all present this evening. Item number 2, the invocation. Jim? Dan Scheibel, will you give the invocation?
Yes,
and after that, we're going to put you to work for about the last time. Jeff, would you lead us in the flag salute, please? Go ahead with the
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, guests. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, the day that you've made. Thank you for Enid, the city that we call home. And we read in Scripture that Jesus, you love and even wept for the city. You cared for this people, and although it's a place of great need, it's also a place of community and hope. We also ask that you'd seek the welfare of the city and pray for those in authority. For you said that when it's well with it, then it would be well with its people. So, Lord, I pray for our government, both nationally and locally, and I pray for this council and the decisions that are made in this place, for our police and firemen and women. Pray that you would bless their work. And I ask on behalf of our school system and pray for its health, that our children continue to be inspired, taught, and raised in wholesome character. I ask a special blessing to those who teach and instruct the little ones. Lord, thank you also for Vance Air Force Base and our troops. I ask that you would hold them in your loving arms, protect those who fight for peace, plus bless them and their families for selfless acts that they perform in times of need. We also, Lord, that you would bless those that serve in public interest, know that they're making a difference in spite of the sacrifices they make on a daily basis. I lift up our wonderful and diverse city. Thank you for the people, and I ask for functional unity, that our daily provisions be met and realized by all, because you are the giver of all good things. May your grace and unmerited favor be known to all of our citizens. So, Lord, I pray with all of my heart that you bless this evening and all who are here to make a difference for this city and your kingdom. And these things I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chief, we will miss you. He is retiring in what, 18 days?
31.
31 days?
31 days.
Okay.
I didn't start counting until today.
Anyway, we're glad you landed in Enid.
My pleasure.
Thank you for what you've done. Item 4, consider approval of minutes of the regular commission meeting of March 20, 2018.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Ron, second by Jonathan. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 5, awards, presentations, proclamations, and organizational business. Item 5.1, present the pet available for adoption at the city animal shelter.
Cute dog.
This is a TV commercial.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Charlotte Ringwald. I'm the adoption coordinator at Enid Animal Control. And tonight my friend here is Blossom. Blossom is what we like to call a pocket pit. She's kind of a little girl. She's about 8 months old, and right now she is in pen 9. And she is looking for a family of her own. And we've got lots of other cats and dogs ready for adoption and that are available. So please come stop by. If you know anybody that knows someone who wants an animal, please follow us on Facebook and share. That really helps out a lot. Thank you very much. Ready?
Staring you down there.
Yeah. I think she just picked you.
I winked at the dog and it flew away.
Yeah.
I think she picked you. She likes you.
Item 5.2, present the National Crime Victims' Rights Week proclamation. Steve?
Yes, sir. Please join me. Mayor and Commissioners, yes, Mike Phillips, come on down. Mike, why don't you come over on this side? Am I getting shorter or you getting taller? Getting taller. Mayor and Commissioners, we have 4 proclamations this evening, as the mayor has written. The first one is National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Representing District 4, District Attorney Mike Fields. Mike, thank you again for being here. Mike, the mayor has put this proclamation together, and it reads such: whereas the extraordinary progress we have made on behalf of millions of victims since the passage of the Victims of Crime Act in 1984, we renew our nation's commitment to serving all victims of crime. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 8th through the 14th of 2018, provides an opportunity to extend that vision to every victim of crime in the United States and to help ensure their access to the help they deserve and the rights they are promised. And whereas the City of Enid is joining forces with the victim service programs, criminal justice officials, and concerned citizens throughout Enid and America to raise awareness of victims' rights and observe National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Now therefore be it resolved that Bill Shuey, Mayor of the City of Enid, hereby proclaims the week of April 8th through the 14th of 2018 to be National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and reaffirm Enid's commitment to respect and enforce victims' rights and address their needs during this week and throughout the year, and express our appreciation for those victims of crime survivors who have turned personal tragedy into a motivating force to improve our response to victims of crime and build a more just community. National Crime Victims' Rights Week, April 8th through the 14th of 2018. Congressional Mike, the mayor has your official proclamation for you.
I just want to thank the mayor and the city council for helping us recognize this important week. It's an annual recognition that we have, and I'd like to invite everybody. Next Tuesday night, the YWCA, 6 o'clock, we're having our 27th annual Crime Victims Vigil. 27th annual. We've been doing that. So, again, thanks to all of you, and thank you for all that you do.
I forgot he was a linebacker at the University of Oklahoma. I keep looking up to the. Thank you, Mike. Mike Biggers. Can Mike join us this evening? We have a fair housing awareness proclamation that we need to read at this time. Whereas on Wednesday, April 11th of 2018 marks the 50th anniversary of the passage of the U.S. Fair Housing Law, which enunciates a national policy of fair housing without race or regard to race, color, creed, sex, handicap, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all citizens. And whereas the Community Development Support Association and the City of Enid continue to address discrimination in our community support programs, will inform the public about the right to equal housing opportunity, and will plan partnership efforts with other organizations to ensure every American's right to fair housing. Now therefore, Bill Shuey, the mayor of the City of Enid, Oklahoma, hereby proclaims April 2018 as Fair Housing Awareness Month, and in the City of Enid, state of Oklahoma, and encourage our community to strive towards building a more hopeful society and recognize the importance of equal access to housing for all members of our community. And so, the month, April, Fair Housing Awareness Month. Okay, the tree folks, right? That's what you said, Mayor. We'd like for the tree board to join us at this time. Stephanie, would you join us as well? Thank you for all coming up. We have board members of the tree board. I think it's the 10th, Stephanie, help me out, 10th or 11th year that Enid's been recognized as Tree City USA?
Yes, this is our 10th year.
Congratulations on that. The proclamations that the mayor has put together reads as such. Whereas trees increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our communities, and whereas trees reduce the erosion of topsoil, provide shade, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, provide habitat for wildlife, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas on January 4th in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed a tree planting holiday to be called Arbor Day. And whereas Arbor Day celebrates the role of trees in our lives and promotes tree planting and care. Now therefore, Bill Shuey, the mayor of the city of Enid, Oklahoma, hereby proclaims Friday, April 27th, 2018 as Arbor Day. The mayor further urges all citizens to support the community's efforts to protect existing trees and to plant trees for future generations to enjoy by participating in the upcoming Arbor Day celebration at Crossland Dog Park on April 27th at 9:30 a.m. and also at Don Haskins Park at 11:30 a.m. So, Friday, April 27, 2018 is Arbor Day in the city of Enid. Tree Board, congratulations. Thank you for the work that you do. And the mayor has your official proclamation for you. Michael, you want to speak to? Yeah, they're up next. They're after your, okay. Kyle and Alex, if you want to come up at this time, please. One final presentation to make, and the one that everybody likes. It comes with a big check. Kyle and Alex, thank you for being here. Okay, here we go. And Kyle and Alex, this is directed towards you and Jiffy Trip, so thank you for being here this evening. Whereas service to others and giving back to the community is a hallmark of American character and central to how we enhance the quality of life in our community. And whereas Jiffy Trip opened its doors in 1972 as one of the strongest convenience store chains in Oklahoma with over 40 years of experience, the family-owned business is committed to providing communities great value, convenience, and excellent customer service. And whereas in February of 2018, Jiffy Trip donated $5,000 to the Enid Tree Board. The funds will be used to plant new trees in public areas around Enid. The Jiffy Trip organization is pleased to contribute to this cause and assist in the Enid Tree Board's beautification project. And whereas Jiffy Trip's philanthropy demonstrates commitment as a corporate citizen to improve the quality of life and strengthen communities. Therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Bill Shuey, Mayor of Enid, Oklahoma, hereby proclaims today, April 3rd, 2018, as Jiffy Trip Corporate Citizen Recognition Day, and encourages all Enid residents to recognize the positive impact of a local business in our community and to thank those who find ways to give back to our community. Kyle, Alex, thank you very much. Congratulations. I think this check has made some mileage around, so here we go again. But feel free, you can speak either microphone.
The tree board would really like to thank Jiffy Trip for their contribution to trees, and not only that, but the beautification of Enid. And we would also like to invite everybody out April 27th, Friday, for Arbor Day at Crossland Park and at the Crossland Dog Park and at Don Haskins Park. Thank you, guys.
Say anything? Sure.
Mayor Shuey, council members, thank you for the invitation to be here tonight. We are glad to be becoming a part of the community, and we look forward to not only contributing to the tree board, but also being a continuous partner with the tree board and helping beautify Enid. So thank you.
And that concludes presentations for this evening. Thank you.
Before I go on, I'll tell you a true story. Kyle's stepmother was my two brothers and my first babysitting jobs, and her last. It's been a long time ago. Okay. Item 5.5, we've done that. Item 6, 5.6, consider appointments to the Police Civil Service Commission, Middle Lake Golf Course Advisory Board, member of the Middle Lake Ladies Association, the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, MAPC, and the Historic Preservation Commission.
All right, Mayor, we'll start out with the Police Civil Service Commission. You have a ballot. There's 10 applicants. There's one vacancy. The incumbent, Ryan Jackson, does seek reappointment, and there's 9 other applicants, so many of them, or maybe all of them, are in the audience tonight. So we'll start with Ryan Jackson. If you want to come on up and introduce yourself and speak to the County Commission.
Commission, thank you very much for seeing me. I am currently filling an unexpired term for the Police Civil Service Commission and would like the privilege to continue that term. It's my own. I was born and raised in Enid. I've made it my home. I'm not very good at this, so apologize. I've enjoyed the last 2 years of serving on the commission. I've learned the ropes. I've learned what is needed as a commissioner. I do have the time to be able to commit to this, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Douglas Griffith? Douglas Griffith? All right, Mr. Raymond Hendry?
Raymond, use the mic right over there, please.
Is there anything you want to say?
Do what?
Is there anything you want to say to the commission? I know that I appreciate you coming in. You desire to serve on one of the boards, and I think you're up for another one too, but this is for Police Civil Service Commission. So do you want to tell the commission anything? You've lived here a long time and that kind of stuff?
No, I don't have anything tonight, but I just want to volunteer my help. I've lived here all my life, and I have some time now that I can, so I think they put me on the MAPC, didn't they?
Yes, I think you may be on that one too.
Yep. I appreciate it, and I'll try to do you a good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Corey Melvin. Mr. Corey Melvin. Ms. Allison Malev.
Thank you guys for the invitation. My name's Allison. I was born and raised in Garfield County. I graduated from Wilcomas. Currently, I work for Cricket Wireless as a store manager. I have previous law enforcement experience as a 911 dispatcher and a jailer. I was OLED certified. I grew up in a family of law enforcement. My father's in law enforcement. My brother is currently in law enforcement, and my sister-in-law is in law enforcement. It's just kind of in our blood. I'm at the age where I feel like I need to give back to our community and be a part of something bigger than what I am, and I feel like this would be the perfect fit. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas Nichols. Mr. Dale Pazzo.
Mr. Mayor, City Commission, I want to thank you for this opportunity, which I consider a high honor, to serve in this position. I was born in Enid, lived here all my life, 65 years, and I love the city. And I've been in law enforcement since 1986. I served as a reserve for the Garfield County Sheriff's Department, and for many years, volunteered my time. And I served as a full-time deputy for 6 years. I am currently the campus police officer at Hennessy Public Schools. And law enforcement has been a part of my life for a long time. And obviously, as a reserve, when you volunteer your time, I put in many, many hours because I enjoyed it. Like I said, I've lived in Enid. Enid is my home. I just want the opportunity to serve and give back to the community. I also am a instructor at OT Autry as a security guard instructor. And one thing I tell all my students is how important it is when you put on a uniform or a badge you're up on a pedestal, you're higher, and you get respect by giving respect. And law enforcement in this day and age is something that we need more of, good people that can serve the community and not considered a job that I want to say they just sometimes they put on the badge and they get the big head or get the power, and that's not what it's all about. It's law enforcement is something that, like I say, deserves respect, and the only way you get that is you earn it. So I thank you for the opportunity. I'd love to serve on the board, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Mr. Mike Stuber.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and City Manager. Thank you for the opportunity in advance for your consideration for this Police Civil Service Commission. I have applied in the past. While I do not have any law enforcement experience, I do have employment, HR experience, as well as just an overall understanding of how the police force works, and have a good understanding of what those guys go through, from talking with them. So just in advance, again, thank you for your consideration.
Mr. Joseph Tyndall.
Mr. Mayor, Commission members, and Mr. City Manager, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. My name is Joseph Tyndall. I came to Enid, Oklahoma in 1978 in the United States Air Force. Loved it here so much when I discharged, I got on the Enid Police Department. I served on the Enid Police Department until I turned 23 years old, when you had to be at 23 to apply to the Highway Patrol, which I was accepted. I served my time on the Oklahoma Highway Patrol stationed here at Troop J. Due to family situation, I had to move back to Maryland, so I applied to the Maryland State Police from here and was immediately accepted there. I promoted through the ranks and retired as a state supervisor with the Maryland State Police. I have vast experience. My entire adult life has been in law enforcement. Once I retired from there, I went into corrections and worked corrections as a supervisor for a while, and fortunately married a girl that I met 35 years ago as a young trooper and moved back to Enid, Oklahoma a couple years ago, and I absolutely love to be back. So I would like to offer my vast years of experience and volunteer my services if I can help. If you decide you want me to help, I'll do anything I can and try to keep integrity and do what needs to be done. Thank you for your time.
and Mr. Scott Van Crevelin.
Hello, I am Scott Van Crevelin. Thank you, Mayor and board members, for hearing me. I've been back in Enid for about the last 20 years, but 40 years ago, I was actually on the Enid Police Department and had the opportunity to go in front of the Civil Service Commission on 4 different occasions for promotions. I remember real clearly some of the fears and some of the wonderings that I had about the operation of that board and how it was and how the determinations for things were made. At that time, we really weren't given a lot of information. So it would be one of my things that I'd like to, if I were accepted, would like to present some information to the people that really is affected by this board. Since leaving there, I've been involved in various different kinds of administrative business, mostly social work environment. Currently own a drug and alcohol treatment center here in Enid, Oklahoma, and I plan to make this, we've already been here 20 years, so I plan to make this my home. I'd just like to offer my experience and skills to the board, if it's possible. Thank you.
All right, that is all the applicants that are here. There's 10 applicants, 1 vacancy. So if you would vote for one. All right, the next board that we have tonight for appointments is the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. There's also 1 vacancy there to be filled. The incumbent's Mr. Cody Haney. He does not seek reappointment. And we have 3 applicants. One of them you have met already. Mr. Hendry, do you want to come back up and say anything about this board in particular? MAPC?
About 30 years ago, the MAPC used to meet in my restaurant downtown. So I watched a lot of that go on over the years. But I just thought it was time for me to give something back if I could. So I talked to the city manager and went down and applied. So I was born in Enid in West Pine 81 years ago. And I've been a citizen of Enid all except when I served in the service. I was in Korea for a year. And I went to college for a little while, and I was gone. But other than that, I've been here all my life. So I've seen almost everything's been built and tore down and rebuilt at this time. But I feel it's a great honor to serve. I hope I do you a good job. I am familiar with all areas of the city, and I went to school at Garfield and Longfellow and Enid High. Graduated in 1955. How, I don't know, but I did. I think still some questions out with some of the teachers how I got through there. But it was a wonderful place to live. It was a wonderful place to be brought up. And I hope we can continue to make it that way. Because I grew up in the 40s and the 50s, and we just run wild. Everybody in town looked after you. And remember one episode we got a little out of hand and they throwed us in this jail over here behind the fire station. It was plumb full. There was a captain on the police force at that time, Captain Beardsley. And he come back in there and he said, I suppose you all want to go to the midnight movie over at the Esquire. Yeah, well, that was a silly question, but he got a lot of cheers and claps. And he said, okay, I'm gonna let you guys, all of you out. You go single file to the movie. And he said, after the movie, you go home. I don't want to see you again. So he didn't see us again that night, anyway. But it was that kind of atmosphere to grow up in that everybody looked after you. And not a lot of communities enjoy that. And I hope we can keep it going. So thank you all very much. Bill? Do you have direct authority over me, or?
No.
Good. Well, I've known him ever since he come down. And Ronnie and I used to.
I wasn't in jail with you, Raymond.
But we did live 2 blocks apart.
Thank you. Mr. Stuber?
Mr. Mayor, Board of Commissioners, this is the other board I have applied for tonight and a few occasions in the past. I am currently a business owner and have been a business owner in this town. Not only have I sat up there and seen what it takes to help a city grow, I keep that with me at all times. So if I were to be appointed to this board, I would certainly want to see some progress and encourage growth in the city. So thank you for your consideration.
And Mr. David Trojan.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I too have applied for this position. I've enjoyed Raymond's stories, great, and Mike, I know them both well. We do have a wonderful community. Enid, like many other communities that are our peers, it's essential and important that an advisory committee that is informed be a part of the process of determining how we achieve balanced growth that will allow for us to retain quality of life, but most importantly, retain the jobs that are necessary to be maintained in our community. Part of my background relates to work that I do as an attorney, and I've had the privilege of serving clients throughout the region in peer cities, so I have a perspective of what to anticipate, and it does drive decisions relative to how receptive communities are in the process of making advisory recommendations. I have to say that Chris Bauer has done a wonderful job and brings the position of the city forward, but it's also important to have an informed citizen advisory committee, and I would like to fulfill that position for the community if I'm so elected. Thank you.
All right, Mayor and Commissioners, there's 1 vacancy on MAPC, 3 applicants you've heard from. Please vote for 1.
I will read the results of the Police Civil Service Commission while she tabulates. The person selected will be Ryan Jackson. He received 6 votes. Joseph Tyndall received 1 vote. Those voting for Ryan Jackson were Jansen, Norwood, Ezell, Wilson, Pankinen, and Shuey. The person voting for Joseph Tyndall was Woodell. Ryan, congratulations.
Yeah, and I'll just take a moment on behalf of the Mayor and Commissioners. The other applicants, there was only one vacancy, but those other applicants we will keep in our files. If you are interested, if another opening comes up on police civil service or any other boards, we don't always have 10 applicants for one vacancy. In fact, this is a rarity, so I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Very good, Ken.
And the same thing on MAPC, whatever she tabulates, only one person is going to be appointed with 3 applicants, so we will call you because we need your service. Thank you.
Do you want to do the other 2?
Yes, our next 2 will be a little less complicated because there's only one qualified applicant for one vacancy on the Meadow Lake Golf Course Advisory Board, specifically serving in the Ladies Association position. The incumbent, Sharon Dillon, does not wish to seek reappointment, but we've received an application from Mrs. Gail Wood. Is Mrs. Gail Wood here? Come on up, and your probability is pretty high tonight, I think. And go ahead and just say whatever you want to say to the commission, introduce yourself.
I'm Gail Wood, and I went to high school here. Moved back 2.5 years ago. I volunteer at the Hospice Circle of Love, and I volunteer at the YWCA in the SARA program. I started playing golf when I came back to Enid at Meadow Lake. I love the ladies out there, and we would invite anyone who would come and join us to please do so. And I was asked to be on the advisory board, and I accepted that challenge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Move to appoint Ms. Gail Wood.
Second.
Motion by Ben, a second by Ron. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
Congratulations, you're on.
Thank you.
You made it.
Appreciate it.
And the last board tonight is the Historic Preservation Committee, where we have one vacancy. We do have an incumbent there who seeks reappointment, Mr. Todd Nelson. Is he here?
Move to appoint Mr. Nelson.
Second.
Was that you, Ben?
Yeah.
Motion by Ben, second by Jonathan?
Yes.
George? Flip a coin. Jonathan?
Yes.
You got the second.
Yes.
Please cast your vote.
What's up now, George?
Motion carries 7-0. The leading vote getter for the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission is David Trojan, had 4 votes. Mike Stuber had 3 votes. Voting for David Trojan were Jansen, Norwood, Pankinen, and Shuey. Those voting for Stuber, Ezell, Waddell, and Wilson. David, congratulations.
And again, just as I said, we will be calling those of you that were not put on because we have other vacancies on other boards if you're interested. So thank you for coming out and applying tonight.
Item 6, Community Development. Item 6.1, consider approval for the replat of Oakwood Square, Section 4, Block 2. Chris.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Commissioners, City Manager. David Ritchie purchased these 3 lots that are outlined in yellow. They are zone commercial. He is seeking to replat them into 4 lots, and when we do, we want to make sure that we have road, water, and sewer available. We have water in the street. All 3 lots, or all 4 when I show you the replat, all front on the street, and he plans to extend the sanitary sewer in the rear of the lots right along here. This is what his plat will look like. He intends to build duplexes on each lot. Metropolitan Area Planning Commission reviewed, and their recommendation is to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ben, second by Jonathan. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 6.2, consider approval for the replat of Forest Ridge First Edition, Blocks 1 through 4.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a Forest Ridge plat. It's been platted already before. You probably recall this. The homes you see in the aerial photo have been built. The developer, Forest Ridge LLC, is back in front of you this evening. They wish to privatize the streets, and we have reviewed that. The attached plat here, instead of being public right-of-ways, they're defined as public access. Planning Commission reviewed this, and it's their recommendation to approve. These streets will be private in this subdivision.
Motion to approve.
What does that mean? Yeah.
What does that mean?
They will be responsible for the maintenance, Commissioner.
Why?
Is there someone here that can answer that?
Chris Burdick with Envirotech Engineering. The developer has just decided that they want to take on, instead of going through the approval process with the city, they've got some areas in the street that has some minor fractures, hairline cracks, and it's city policy that all that needs to be replaced to be accepted by the city and for the city to take over the maintenance. They've elected to, similar to El Paseo and some other additions in town, to take on that maintenance and repair that when it's deemed to be more of an issue than it is. They feel like it is now. So they've accepted the responsibility to, while the right-of-ways will be open to the public, just like any other street in Enid, they will take on the maintenance and the repair of any of those. Money's collected through the Homeowners Association. This is a little bit different situation in the sense these lots are actually, the homes are actually rented out instead of sold. The lots aren't sold like a typical subdivision would be. So the Forest Ridge LLC will maintain complete ownership of the subdivision, including ownership of the HOA. And govern that HOA as they go on.
It's my understanding from visiting with the folks, when they decided they wanted to apply to make the streets, to replat it to be private, this is similar to other developments they've done in other places, and they have a mixture of developments that are public streets and private streets, is the conversation I had with them.
They own, I know of 2 or 3 other developments similar to that, Punk City, Stillwater, that they own and maintain. They have a community center and a park area and those kind of things. So it's not really a typical subdivision in the sense that we think of where every lot gets sold and it's all independent. It's more of a community center type facility. Will not affect public access. Like I said before, the general public still has full access to all streets. And
Is there any time limit on the maintenance of the streets?
From a developer standpoint?
Well, from the city standpoint, I mean, somebody's not going to come to us 5 years from now and say this street in front of my house is crap and I want you to fix it.
Well, they may say that, but we'll have noted that it's a private street.
That's
been so persuasive in the past.
That's happened in other developments. So there's one in particular in my ward that was built by a developer, and it's not great, and now everybody on the street is angry about it, even though the city wasn't really the city's street. So, and my concern is, I mean, yay, that the city doesn't have to have maintenance on the streets, but the other part of that is, how long are they gonna let it go till they deem it necessary to fix? I mean, is it gonna just become a big, huge mess before they fix it, and then they're gonna have to, then they can say, well, we don't have to fix it because we own it? I mean, it's what is the standard, you know? I mean, I know everybody's gonna guffaw when I say, you know, there's a particular standard for streets, and, you know, maybe ours aren't all in the best condition, but I don't feel really comfortable just letting a street get bad on purpose just because we don't have to fix it.
I don't think their intent is to let the streets get bad necessarily.
But it sounds like they don't want to fix it.
Well, I think there are some cracks that have developed in several panels. I couldn't tell you how many, but
is this new concrete or blacktops?
And it was built based on the City of Enid standards. The city has a policy that if there's a crack in a panel, it's got to come out, and one hairline crack, it's expensive to take out a panel.
They have replaced some of the work, and they've complied with much of the sidewalk work.
Isn't that addition only about a year old?
Not even.
No, it's not. The houses aren't a year old.
It's just finished in the last few months.
But I think to answer your question, Commissioner. It's in their best interest to, obviously, if they let these roads go, they won't be selling out or renting houses. So it's, you know, it's kind of like an apartment complex. You know, if the parking lot falls apart and they don't fix it, nobody's going to be living there, nobody's going to be renting it, so.
As in a private association, they also have liability with that as well. So any damage that happens to vehicles or anything that happens in that, they're going to be liable.
They could be liable for that, yes.
So.
Good points.
Thank you.
Thanks.
How did the MAPC vote?
To approve.
Further comments?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Jonathan, second by George. Further comments? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 5-2. Item 7, administration. Item 7.1, consider a resolution amending the 2017-2018 general fund budget by appropriating additional funds in the amount of $265,000 to increase the 2017-2018 appropriated amounts for the general fund capital replacement department. Aaron?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, at the last meeting, you approved an item to purchase number 1 Woodlands, and this would be the appropriation for the funding to secure that property.
Second.
Motion by Tammy, second by Ben. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 7.2, hold a hearing and consider the appeal of Mr. Rodney Phillips pursuant to Title 4, Chapter 4, Section 4-4-3 of the Enid Municipal Code, 2014, regarding the city manager's determination that 210 East Illinois Avenue has become a nuisance and should be abated.
I think our property inspector, Carrie Huffhines, is going to go through the slideshow relatively quickly. It's 31 slides or so. You've probably already seen it. I know Mr. Phillips is here tonight and needs to speak. And then we're ready to answer your questions. So, Carrie, take it.
All right. Good evening. My name is Carrie Huffines, property inspector, as Mr. Gilbert had mentioned. I'm going to start off. This is Mr. Phillips' property in between 2nd and 3rd Street on East Illinois down in Southern Heights. I'm going to start off by what I had found and come across his property late January. The condition of his property, to me, I just said it needed cleaned. So I'm going to go through these rather quickly. As I went on, there wasn't anything that was ever done. I had several contact with him, and he stated that he was not going to clean his property. As you get into the back of the property, it just appears to be worse and worse. As I zoom in here on this picture, this is actually an animal trap, and inside of it, it is kind of difficult to see. It is a dead skunk that had deteriorated rapidly over a period of time, which I do not know how long it was there. This is kind of the case history of kind of how we run things. On January 9th, 2018, I observed the trash and debris at Mr. Phillips' location. I sent him a letter and posted the property. On the 24th, on my reinspection, I noticed that the property had not been cleaned. So I asked the code official to go with me on my reinspection to check for abatement to possibly send contractors out and abate the property. When we were on the property, he would not let us on to inspect all of the items that were on his property to give a proper bid for cleaning. At that point in time, the code official and I discussed and determined that we should move on with the public nuisance abatement since we cannot get on that property to inspect. As I said before, he wouldn't let us onto the property to inspect. Filing a complaint with municipal court, it gives him more time to get the property cleaned. We went through it in the past, and the violation still remained. He paid a fine, went through he went through community service to pay for his fines. At that point in time, we went through the public nuisance abatement. After it was declared by the city manager, and even as today, the property still remains in the same condition. This shows the past case history since 2007 with Mr. Phillips. We've had 16 violations altogether, 9 being high grass and weeds. That is a majority of our cases. We've had complaints filed on him, and the property still remains. So that's why I am here today, to help render a decision. So one of the tools that we utilize in code enforcement is Google Earth. It kind of helps show a timeline of how properties look in the past. Sometimes all of our case history with previous inspectors don't always show. So this was a tool that I utilized in this case. And it actually showed the property was in a very decent condition in 2008. And then later on in 2013, you just see a lot more items start to come about. Next, does anybody have any questions so far? No? Okay. 2009 kind of shows where open storage starts, and it grows into grass and weeds and inoperable vehicles that just never seem to be cleaned. There were times where he would clean up some items, and then before too long, it's all back there again. In 2016, animal control was called out to Mr. Phillips' property, and they had found many animals in cages. That was beyond code, but it just showed the open storage that remained on his property over the time.
Mr. Phillips, do you want to come forward and this is your chance to address the commission as you appeal the decision?
Yes, I had my grandfather-in-law, and I was up in front of this court before, and I had a city permit to keep my animals. And my animals on my lots, they keep down my grass and stuff like that, and I need those animals for that, to keep the grass and stuff down. And for my depression. It gets worse every time the city comes in, says that I have to do this, I have to do that, and then all my animals, something happens to my animals. I don't really want to say what happens, but somebody comes to my property and does something to my animals. I don't know who it is, but you know, it has to do something with the city, because the city is always didn't want me to have my animals. So I don't know why, but I've always had my animals. I've had my animals for 35 years. I've lived at that place for a long time. I've lived in Enid for 55 years. And I would like to have my goats back to get on my properties, in my fields, so they can eat the weeds and the grass and keep it down. I have a bad back. It's hard for me to mow. It's hard for me to keep up with stuff. I start, and then my depression gets worse. And I know I need some help cleaning my property and stuff up, but I want my goats back, so I won't have another problem with the grass and the weeds, and it gets too tall, and they will help me with my depression. I have a note from my doctor saying that they are therapy animals for me. I have not had them for a year, but I still have them. I have to go take care of them, but they're not on my property. I can't look out my window and see my goats because the city took them away from me. I don't think that was fair. I had a grandfather-in-law, and the city made me get the city permit. I didn't need the city permit. I had the grandfather-in-law. But they told me if I didn't get the city permit, they was gonna take my animals away. So that's the reason why I went and got the city permit that I didn't need, because I was grandfathered in. I've had my animals for 35 years.
Phillips, what kind of animals do you have?
I have all kinds of animals.
Can you give me a list, just out of curiosity, what?
Okay, I had chickens, I had turkeys, ducks, rabbits, goats, cows, horses, donkeys, cats and dogs. I had everything. I had a bunch of animals, a lot.
How many have you got now?
I don't have very many.
What's left? What kind of animals do you have there now?
I have cats and dogs, chickens, ducks, turkeys, and rabbits. And I have my goats, but they're not at my house. They're at someone else's house. Because the city was taking my animals. I had 11 goats. Every time the cops called me and told me my goats were out, there was 11. All the time, there was 11 goats that got out. And I have complaints, reports from the city animal shelter. They said, well, you got 3 goats out today, got 3 goats over here, got 3 goats over there. Every day, all the time, when the police called me, they said 11 goats was out. When my goats get out, they all get out. But when the fence was pushed in, but not out, so if the goats would have did it, they would have pushed the fence out. But it was pushed in from the street. And the people that lived next to my property, it was an 1.5 acres of property, they were mad because I bought that property. Ever since I bought that property in 2004, I have had nothing but hell from them.
So this is about not as much about the animals as it is about the cleaning up of the property, right?
Yes, it's about open storage.
So the problem that the code department seems to have with this is that there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up on your property. And that you
Exact-
told them you weren't cleaning it up.
I told them that if I get my goats back, I might be happy to help clean up everything. I need some help because I have a bad back, but I would help clean it up and get it straightened up, because they said that when I went in for a meeting with the city attorney, they said that they would help me clean it up and get it all straightened up.
Which is the abatement process, right?
Yes, I can't, Carol, is he referring to a meeting with you?
I believe he's
Or Will?
referring to a meeting with Will. And Will has had a personal emergency.
Was the discussion about the abatement, is that the help we talked about?
I don't know. I do know that section 4-4-3, big A2, provides that if you find that there is a nuisance, you are to give him time to abate the nuisance. It is not a ordinance that would allow you to immediately abate it, but the way it is written at this time. So, regardless, I think tonight, I'm sorry, I did not anticipate. It is news to me about us helping. I don't know if he meant the city attorney's office or code department. I don't know about that, but I don't want to say that it's wrong.
Mr. Phillips, how much more time do you need to abate your situation? The city's willing and always been willing to work with you. The reason that we're here in this venue is because you have not been willing to work with the city. The goat issue is a separate issue.
I said that I would work with the city if I would have, if they would work with me on getting my goats back. They're the ones that took my goats away.
The goat issue is a separate issue that's already been determined. I suppose that could be talked about again, but that's separate from cleaning up the property.
Where are the goats?
The goats are not at my house. The goats went to a farm where I'm keeping that location a secret,
Right.
so people won't go and mess with my goats like they did.
You still own them?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I
And you
do.
moved them to
What
the
I
other
have
farm.
left, yes, because I had 11 goats on that 1.5 acres, and I'm down to 4 goats after the city got through with them.
Mr. Phillips, if the property was cleaned and you were helped to clean the property,
If you were given a choice, which animals would you select to keep?
The goats, because the goats would help me keep the grass down.
They're the most important to you,
Their help, yes.
priority-wise.
Yes.
Okay.
The goats.
The problem with the goats was there were constant complaints from your neighbors. And animal control could probably, we didn't plan on having animal control here to discuss the goat issue because that's not really the issue before us, but we can. We're not.
Well, there was a lot of issues with the goats. Okay.
certainly were.
Do you want me to bring up all the issues that we have with the goats? I
No, I'm just
can.
trying to figure out, like, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yes, it
So
is.
the code hearing that we heard said that they tried to go onto the property to inspect it, to see what they needed to do about abating it. But according to the ordinance, we're not there yet.
Well,
Because right now, we can't do that.
we've got different processes. Okay, there are different processes, and the process that we are using is the city manager abatement process rather than a different process. I think they switched processes. You know, you can do a cleanup and put it on the tax rolls, or you can do this city manager abatement. So because of the lack of access, they went the city manager abatement, which requires you to give him a chance. Now, what I would say is, based on the pictures we've seen, it would seem to me the first thing that needs to happen, I should be, if you find that it needs to be abated, the first thing I would suggest is that it be cleaned up before we even talk about the goats.
I agree.
Because it's not, with all the stuff that's there on the yard, that's not a safe place for goats right
Also,
now.
we don't, the goat issue is not on the agenda. We can take no
Exactly.
action with regard to the goats. We are limited, based on what's on the agenda, to just take action, specifically the agenda item, let's see, hold a hearing, consider appeal of Mr. Rodney Phillips pursuant to the pertinent ordinance.
So we can talk about cleaning up the property.
But we can't
and
take
then
any
another
action with
time
regard
we
to
can
goats.
talk about the goats.
I would make a motion to, is it appropriate time for a motion, Carol? I know the item is consider the
Yeah.
appeal
I
and
think
make,
you've heard from both of them.
okay.
It is time.
I make a motion to uphold the city manager's determination that it has become a nuisance and should be abated, which, if I understand correctly, will give Mr. Phillips time and opportunity to do such abatement before we take any additional action. Is that correct, Carol?
Yes, but I would,
We need
it
to
says
determine that time?
specifically that you will give him a reasonable time to abate the notice. So I think under the ordinance, you would say it needs to be abated and a certain amount of time is
Mr. Phillips,
provided.
is 60 days adequate to get your property cleaned up?
Then we gave someone on the last city
Okay,
council
that's
meeting
fair.
90 days.
I'd make a motion to determine that the property is a nuisance and should be abated and give Mr. Phillips 90 days to do so.
Do you have a second?
I second.
Motion by Ben, second by Tammy.
Does that make sense, Mr. Phillips, that you'll have 90 days to do some cleanup?
Yes.
And
then
that's all we
visit
can
the
talk
goat-
about tonight?
Then we can visit the goat issue.
Thank you.
Is that fair?
Yes,
And one
it
thing
does.
before we rule, you had stated they, said they would help me. Who's they?
There are some other people that said that they would help me clean up my property and stuff. But I did talk to the attorney, and he said that there was some opportunities of something that people could help, come in and help clean it up and stuff. If,
Talking
it-
about the abatement where the city pays for it and
We
they.
can't, if Mr. Phillips is willing, we can put him in touch with some of the groups that we utilize to help citizens that can't take care of the cleanup due to medical issues.
Great.
Things like that.
We
We're happy
certainly
to help them
encourage you
out.
to do so.
It's
Though-
civic.
Though the motion we're taking, or the motion I've made, assuming it passes, requires you to do so within 90 days, regardless of whether anybody can help you or not, you still get 90 days.
So,
That would be about the 4th of July.
So the next question, at that 90-day mark, the expectation is that the property meet code, correct?
Yes, or we would abate the issue.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
got it.
so do you understand that? So at the end of 90 days, if your property's not cleaned up to the code department's satisfaction, That means the city can come in and clean it up. But then you get billed for that. That's how that works, right? Okay.
Great.
So,
Okay.
so everybody's on the same.
So moved.
I will do what I can to help you. It's in my ward, so I'll do what I can to help you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And we have a motion and a second.
Motion and second. Further comments? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 8, consent items.
Move to approve.
Motion by Ben to approve, second by George. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 9, we will now recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. Item 10, all of the trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item 11, the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 11.1, consider a resolution increasing the 2017-2018 fiscal financial plan for the Enid Municipal Authority in the amount of $265,000.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Ben, second by Ron. Please cast your vote.
Wait a minute, there we go.
Motion carries 7-0. Item 11.2, approval of claims in the amount of $222,993.77.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jonathan, second by Derwin. Was that you, Derwin?
Sure. It was me, but that's fine. Derwin can have
I
it.
just heard Derwin.
Whatever Alyssa writes down.
Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 12, we will now adjourn to convene as the Enid Economic Development Authority. Item 13, all of the trustees of the Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item 14, the Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 14.1, approval of claims in the amount of $5,000.
So moved.
Motion by Jonathan. Second. Second by George. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 15, we will now adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Item 16, all of the trustees of the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item 17, the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 17.1, approve change order number 1 with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, ODOT, to create bus sales for 3 new passenger buses in the amount of $3,600.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ron, second by Ben to approve. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 17.2, approval of claims in the amount of $1,820.06.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Tammy. Second. Second by George. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 18, we will now adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item 19, public comments. We have one person signed up. Diane? With your name and address, please.
Diane Levesque, 1324 West Oak Avenue. And as I promised last time, I was going to talk about sales are up. You got good revenues. For this, it says here, second straight month for Enid. And that's because the voters passed a tax hike so that you can afford the CAW pipeline. So anytime I hear, like in today's study session even, can we afford it? For the entire duration that this tax is in place, the answer has to be yes. And Mr. Ezell was out of order bringing up, oh, where were we going to get the money for other capital improvements? This tax goes to the CAW project. If you need revenue for some other things, you look elsewhere, because the COP project is priority one. And while I'm trying to squeeze all this into 5 minutes, I want to make a comment about the skunk in the trap. Yeah, if you had trapped a skunk in your backyard and you called animal control to get it out of that trap, I can tell you what would happen. Happened to me. They said, we don't do skunks. It was up to me to get that skunk out of the trap. Now, if you just caught a skunk in a trap in your backyard, what would you do? Exactly. If animal control won't do it. Oh, I figured it out. I figured stuff out. I took a tarp, threw it over there, let him smell his own perfume for a while, and when it got dark, I took 2 long sticks and I got that poor booger out, because I know if I didn't get him out, he would die in there. Now, how many skunks have had to die because animal control wouldn't pick them up? That's a rhetorical question. Now then, I want to point out a few things about the COP project that was covered tonight, and a few bogus objections to it, one of which I've already mentioned, and that is, if you've got the different stages go out to 60 years, and you have to replace all pipe in 50 years because it's got a 50-year lifespan. What in the world are you people doing presuming to make decisions for a future elected commission that decides those things? 50 years out is an entirely different commission, and I'll wager some of us are old enough to be probably properly planted and pushing up daisies by the time that time rolls around. There will be different terms, and under the Oklahoma Water Board, you are getting special rates. So the bogus claim that it's going to cost more money to borrow money later on when you've got the Water Board locking in a rate for you is bogus. But I've got some good news for you, though, too. And I've all sent you electronic email messages about that. If you're falling short on your capital projects, you got $40 million that you have now that you didn't have before, and that's because Main Street Enid is now fully self-sufficient. I know you don't give Main Street Enid $40 million all in one lump sum like that, but you give it some money. And when you add up all the years that you've given X amount of money to Main Street Enid, you're looking at a lot of years, 60 maybe. That'll add up to $40 million, Mr. Mayor, as you have said. 40 million is four with a lot of O's. And that's a lot of time when we're talking time. And you love trees, do you? Who's the Einstein who killed a tree to put this up? This is a notice that says, please schedule a pickup. The city of Enid requests your assistance in keeping our community safe and in good appearance. This happens to be, my friends and neighbors, in the middle of spring cleanup. The joker who put these on different doors because there are brush piles in the front don't realize that this is the middle of cleanup. People ain't done yet. And you killed a tree for this, and not to mention spending money on toner and ink. Now, when you stop doing stupid stuff like this, maybe you can find some money for those capital projects you got pending.
Thank you. Item 20, consider convening into executive session to discuss City of Enid versus Freddie and Mary Catherine Lorenz, CV-2013-49, pending litigation, and to hear a presentation by Ricky Hayes of Retail Attractions, LLC, the City of Enid's retail consultant, and reconvene into regular session to take any necessary action.
Can I make a motion only to convene as to Mr. Hayes? Not that I have anything against the other issue, but I will not be present for that. And so instead of reconvene, we will have to, I know, adjourn and then reconvene. I just want to not be on the record as part of the other part. Is that proper, Carol?
Yes.
Okay.
We can do it that way.
Second that.
Thank you.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Ben, second by George. Further discussion? Please cast your vote.
And just so the public knows, I think the idea would be we would come back downstairs, and then afterwards, we would take the second piece, and we would go back upstairs and come down.
Correct.
Okay, just so they, not confused.
Thanks a lot, Ben.
Thank you.
There's the.
So make it very clear I will be here for the other part. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us for the Enid City Commission meeting. All meetings are broadcast on local cable channel 12 and in high definition on channel 112. In addition, the council meeting is live streamed on the web at enidtv.org. If you have any questions or comments regarding this broadcast, please visit the City of Enid website at enid.org.